Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, thanks for joining me. And if you've been here, thanks for rocking with me. And today we're going to go ahead. We got another report on Eric Adams because they just won't leave it alone. The Democrats are fighting on every level, everywhere, on everything. If it got something to do with progress, I thought those were supposed to be the party of progressives, but apparently not. So they still going on trying to get this case to keep moving forward with Eric Adams. And I do believe DOJ recently stepped in. I mean, DOJ been stepped in trying to get it dropped. And now it's going through the state courts in New York. They tried to get the governor to go ahead and boot him. She said she ain't got nothing to do with it. And I feel like that's because she is on board with getting the migrants out of New York City. But since she's a Democrat, on that level, she can't say it because she'll be done for. Her political career be done. It'll be over with. And it's not because she won't get no votes. It's because the Democratic Party will disnounce her. They'll kick her straight out the party. I feel like that's why Brandon Johnson and Mike Johnson out there, Brandon from Chicago and Mike Johnson out in Aurora, Colorado, out there in Colorado, why those two are fighting so hard, because those guys are relatively young compared to her, but at the same time, they still have a long time in politics left, is what I'm saying. And for them to go against the party and knowing that the Republican Party wouldn't want them, they have to run as independents, and that's not going to really fare too well for some reason. But still, I'm just saying, this is why they're going with the get along, because this is a Democrat initiative. They're trying to push this. So Eric Adams been vocal since the whole thing popped off. He never wanted them in New York. He always said that we don't have it for them. We done seen FEMA, who couldn't help Americans when we had natural disasters, cut $59 million checks to private entities, the hotels themselves. They didn't even cut the check to New York. They cut the check to private hotels in New York for the housing of migrants. So when people want to sit up here and argue with you about about Trump cutting off federal funding to cities, this is why. Because while we have crises and stuff going on within the country, our agencies are designating large amounts of money that could think about what $59 million could do for people in California. But that's because Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom. But that's a different conversation for a different day. But you guys get what I'm trying to say. Those folks out there in North Carolina, those people out there in Hawaii, they definitely could have used that $59,000. But here they go, trying to get Eric Adams out of the way. Now, is he guilty or not? I don't know. I'm not here to decide that or not. But what I do know is that this is mighty suspicious that they start to come and do all this stuff to him after he was very vocal about not wanting migrants in his city when they couldn't afford it. So let's see what NBC got going on. This was from yesterday morning, I do believe. It's just been stuff coming out every day. So I kind of wanted to change the subject a little bit off Eric Adams, but I guess I'll go ahead and see what they're talking about, because it says Eric Adams corruption trial terminated as judge considers dismissing case. So let's see what they're talking about.
Special report.
We join you here at 118 with some breaking news involving Mayor Adams' corruption case. Good to be with you. I'm Gilma Avalos, and we just learned that a federal judge has put the case on hold and that the mayor's April trial date will not go forward. We want to bring in government affairs reporter Melissa Russo. Melissa, you've been reading over this 5-page ruling.
Yep.
Break it down for us.
It seems, Gilma, from a first read of this ruling, that the judge in this case is saying that the trial date that was scheduled for Mayor Eric Adams to begin on April 21st is adjourned. He's putting it on hold. Trial's not starting on April 21st. But the bigger issue that they were in court to discuss this week, whether or not this judge would decide to dismiss this case against Adams temporarily with the potential that it could be brought back at a later date, the judge has not weighed in on that yet. So The judge has said he had limited discretion in this case because ultimately it's generally believed that prosecutors have the right to say if they want to dismiss a case. But in this matter, we have the prosecution and the Adams legal team, the two parties in the case, on the same side. And there's been some pushback since the hearing the other day from outside groups. Good government groups, former prosecutors who just wrote a letter to the judge last night saying, Judge, you're only seeing one side of the story here. We haven't heard the full picture.
And you know what? Since this been going on, that's all I've been hearing. And if you watched any of my other Eric Adams videos, I've been very vocal on that point. They always been saying, well, we got more evidence. We have been able to present certain evidence, this, evidence. But people are quitting. And I don't understand that. Like, people are quitting. His four deputy mayors quit. Now, I kind of understand why they quit, because his last deputy mayors got caught up in some federal stuff. So I don't know if these deputy mayors would. That's what make me say, like, I don't know. Like, because his deputy mayors up and quit, and his last couple deputy mayors did get caught up on corruption charges. But at the same time, when you had the U.S. district attorneys for the Southern Manhattan District, 7 of them quit, including Danielle Sutton, the head of it. So the lead or whatever, she quit, but she talking about she got more evidence. That's just always sounded fishy to me, because why would you quit? Why would you give up? And not only could you bring this case back up, but you know this case is a slam dunk. Unless you're quitting because when stuff starts to get uncovered, you don't want to be around for that. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking they leaving because when stuff get uncovered, I'm talking about on the DA side, on that side, do you want to be around when them skeletons come out? Because I had a commenter to say on my last video, he knows where all the bodies are buried. And yes, that is true. Eric Adams been around for a long enough time to know where the bodies are buried.
So what the judge decided to do today, using his discretion, is to basically name a constitutional expert. His name is Paul Clement. He has argued before the Supreme Court more than 100 times, and he has put Mr. Clement now in charge of an amicus situation. I'm not an attorney, so I won't get all the language right, but basically, Mr. Clement will be in charge of bringing arguments before the court, which means the judge wants to still weigh, going forward, the question of whether to dismiss this case against Adams. He wants the court to consider, when should a court permit a dismissal of a case? Also, how is a judge supposed to decide whether a case should be dismissed temporarily, meaning without prejudice, or permanently? It's interesting that that's in there, because one of the big issues politically for Mayor Adams has been that because this move was to dismiss the case temporarily, there's this notion now in New York City that this is hanging over Mayor Adams's head, and that President Trump and his Justice Department have undue leverage over them.
Okay, why does an outside lawyer need to come and tell a judge about the Constitution? That don't sound strange to you? He's going to the outside lawyer is going to come in to tell the judge when he should and when he shouldn't be able to do this. I mean, to become a judge, shouldn't you have to know these things? Shouldn't this stuff already be like second knowledge to you? You know what I'm saying? Like, all of this should be forget first-hand knowledge. That's crazy. Okay, let's keep going. Let's finish the video out.
Mayor. So the idea that now the judge is suggesting that he wants to hear arguments on whether or not he can dismiss it temporarily or permanently throws a potentially new dynamic into this situation.
Yeah, and to be clear, this case is not going away altogether. We heard on Wednesday that Mayor Adams said that he was confident that this case would not be brought back in the future. When the Judge Dale Ho asked him if he understood that the case could be brought back, it's just on hold.
It's just on hold. And the only thing the judge decided for sure today that we can see is that the trial will not go forward as it was originally scheduled on April 21st. But as to these larger questions that you're raising, will the case be dismissed temporarily or even permanently, still on the table. The judge wants to hear more information. There have been a lot of criticisms that there's only been one side of the story presented before this judge. Mayor Adams and the Justice Department are on the same page. And there are outsiders, including former prosecutors who have resigned over this, who are saying, wait, Judge, this is in the public interest. Why shouldn't we have a fact-finding hearing? Let's talk more about what the evidence against Mayor Adams actually was before we just make this decision to let this go. And, you know, there are differing views on how much discretion a judge has in a case like this to say, well, the prosecution asked, so we're going to dismiss it. He is exercising his discretion now to say we're going to have more conversations about this, and I want to hear more fact-finding before I make a decision. And he's setting a schedule for March.
Okay, I could see it's going to be a bunch of word salad filling time at this point with that piece. So essentially nothing, right? So I'm just confused. Like, when are they going to let this go? Because this is my thing, right? If I'm so hell-bent on justice, if I'm this personification of justice, because that's what Danielle Sutton made it seem like. She won't stand for this. This goes against what she believes in, and that's why she's stepping down in protest of the DOJ and all of this. If you were such that, and you have, this is what, from day one, I've said this when I started talking about this story. From day one, you could look at any of my, and matter of fact, I actually had an article in my first video I did on this to figure out what exactly they was going after him for. And the only thing that I was like, well, do y'all got evidence of the $1 million or not? Because all the other stuff to me was irrelevant. Some upgraded flight tickets that he didn't even pay for, helping another country build their embassy. And see, that's what I'm kind of mad about, right? Because y'all was letting immigrants up here, and y'all mad at a man wanting another country, helping another country build his embassy, their embassy here, so that they can hurry up and start the illegal asylum process. They didn't want to just start to move immigrants through their embassy. They wanted to actually start the illegal asylum because people were endangering their country. So I'm not understanding any of this, because these people who are saying that they so for justice, why would you quit if you have this evidence? I keep hearing you not hearing the whole story, and by y'all quitting, what judge is going to sit there and be like, oh, well, this man must be guilty, everybody's quitting? That don't make no sense. If you really had a case and you really had strong evidence, you really had all this stuff on this man, why would you quit? Why would you quit? And then on top of that, like I've been saying from the beginning, like a lot of people, when y'all come across this video, that don't make no sense. That don't make not one lick of sense. Because I'm going to stand there and fight. You going to have to fire me. You got to fire me. If I got the proof to show that you doing dirt, wow. You know what? But that's what the Democrats doing all over. I ain't going to lie. It's rather they suing, or they quitting, or they protesting. And they protesting about progress. So, again, Adams is with the Deportation Act, and they not with it, and they want him gone. And I don't even feel like New Yorkers really want him up out of there now that, you know. So, but see, the thing with Adams is he still wants to figure out a way to have some sort of sanctuary. He still wants to figure out a way to be some type of sanctuary city. So, I don't really know, you know, what type of, but he don't like it the way that the Democrats threw it at him. I get that. So, it is what it is. Like, comment, subscribe. Hopefully, I'll see you on the next video. Brother man out of here. Peace.